Greetings from our channel again. A Hollywood icon and his spouse were discovered in their house, still in a closet. The dog died. The floor was littered with pills. There were no traces of forced entry, and the front door was wide open. Time has masked the sorrow of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's last hours. A paradoxical story. There is no sign of foul play, but everything seems strange. What caused them to pass at the same time? It took over a week for their remains to be found, even though Hackman's pacemaker had logged its final signal in February. What actually happened in those lost hours? Although the autopsy report is still pending, one thing is clear. This is not the end of the narrative. Nobody could have predicted that Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, would die on February 26, 2025. The famous couple who left the spotlight of Hollywood to live a peaceful life in New Mexico were discovered dead in their own house. Although police first claimed there were no indications of criminal involvement, the scene's specifics still leave many questions unanswered. A maintenance worker had no idea what he was getting into when he arrived at the door of the large Santa Fe home, a scene that would haunt him for the rest of his life. There were no indications of a struggle or break-in, and the front door was open and unlocked. But when he looked out the window, he noticed something strange. Two people, one in the bathroom and one on the kitchen floor, were still. A little before 2 p.m., a 911 call was placed. February 26. When the police and neighborhood security showed up, there was a deathly quiet that pervaded the entire area. At a press conference on February 27, Sheriff Adon Mendoza stated that there were no indications of violence or conflict. However, a lot of issues are raised by the scene's details. The two-time Oscar winner Gene Hackman was discovered unconscious close to the kitchen, while his wife, Betsy Arakawa, was located on the floor of the bathroom. There was an open bottle of prescription medication next to her, and a tiny space heater adjacent was clearly used recently. Notably, the bathroom closet also contained the body of one of their 3 canines. Investigators knew this was no routine passing as soon as they stepped inside the mansion. There were no indications of forced entry, yet the front door was open. Nothing was lacking. There were no indications of a fight, disruption, or violence in the house. One of the 3 dogs was dead in the closet, while the other 2 were in good health. There was a space heater by the restroom that looked like it had been used recently. There were pills all over the floor, which made many think they might be poisoned. However, why did it impact 2 people at the same time if it was caused by medication? What caused one dog to die while the other 2 survived? Gene Hackman's pacemaker turned out to be an important clue. Data from this medical equipment indicates that it was last used on February 17, which was over a week prior to the discovery of his body. This knowledge made the investigation even more difficult. Why didn't Betsy Arakawa contact for assistance if Gene Hackman died on February 17 for that reason? When did she die? Sheriff Mendoza confirmed that the timeline is still being pieced together. Although there were no external impact wounds or indications of carbon monoxide leakage, authorities have not ruled out the potential of foul play. To find out if any suspicious chemicals were present, investigators have asked for toxicology tests to be performed on both bodies. 4 to 6 weeks are usually needed for these testing. A number of preliminary theories have been put forth. Harmful effects of medications. One important detail is the open medication bottle in the restroom. This could have been an accident when one or both people accidentally came into contact with a harmful material or misused their medications. Health problems. At 95, Gene Hackman has a history of heart problems. Could it be that Betsy Arakawa followed him for some reason after he passed first? Outside assistance. Some things are still confusing even though there was no forced entry. The circumstances surrounding the couple's death are sufficiently suspicious to call for a comprehensive search and investigation, according to an unnamed investigator. Hollywood was shocked to learn about Gene Hackman and his wife's deaths. In addition to being a legendary figure in film, he represented a generation of performers who established the groundwork for contemporary acting. A heartfelt remark was released by his family. The news of the death of our father, Gene Hackman, and his wife, Betsy, came with great sadness. For us, he was only a father and grandfather, but millions of people throughout the world adored and appreciated him for his amazing performing career. He will be sorely missed. The fact that Gene Hackman would die shortly before the 2025 Oscars, where he was supposed to receive recognition, seemed unthinkable. According to a close friend, this weekend was meant to be a celebration rather than a time for mourning. This is devastating. The inquiry is still ongoing. There are currently no official forensic reports available. However, one thing is for sure. The deaths of Betsy Arakawa and Gene Hackman seem out of the ordinary. Is this just some strange coincidence? A terrible mishap? Or is there a secret that hasn't been revealed? The answers are still to come. And the autopsy report might hold the secret to solving all the puzzles. At a press conference on February 27, Santa Fe Sheriff Adán Mendoza said, "We are still piecing together the timeline." Hackman's pacemaker stopped working on February 17, which raises the possibility that this is when he passed away. What about Betsy, though? She must have contacted emergency services or told someone if she had learned of her husband's death. But there were no such calls. This leads to a number of theories. Did Arakawa later suffer from health issues after Hackman passed away first? At 95, Hackman had a history of heart issues. If he died naturally, it's probable that Arakawa's own death was caused by her own overwhelming shock and sadness. Why didn't she try to get in touch with doctors or family? And how, as if passing near each other, were they both found at the same moment? Did something enigmatic happen on February 17? Could both of them have been impacted at the same time by an occurrence, with Hackman dying first because of his weakened constitution? However, if there was an outside influence, why didn't Betsy ask for assistance and why did she survive? Was Betsy Arakawa discovered somewhere else, but did she pass at the same time as Hackman? Another theory is that they both died on February 17, but investigators are still unable to identify who died first because of the manner in which their bodies were found. The pacemaker's data has completely changed the course of the inquiry. If Hackman had died a few days earlier, what had happened? For authorities, the scene where Hackman and Arakawa were found still contains many confusing aspects. The front door was unlocked. Why did no evidence of forced entry appear if this was an intrusion or robbery? Nothing was missing, yet the door was open. Did someone enter and then leave, or was this a mistake on the part of the couple? Arakawa's bathroom is littered with pills. Betsy was discovered next to an open prescription bottle on the restroom floor. Did she take too much? Or does this indicate a more serious issue? 2 dogs were healthy, but one died in the closet. This is especially strange. Why did only one dog die if there was a poisonous gas or material present? Police are unable to establish who passed first with the evidence they currently have. Nothing verifies the precise moment of Betsy Arakawa's death, but the pacemaker data merely indicates that Hackman might have gone away on February 17. At this time, we do not have a definitive answer as to who passed first, Sheriff Mendoza said. In order to ascertain the cause of death, the toxicology findings will be extremely important. It is anticipated that toxicology reports would be finished in 4 to 6 weeks. These will be crucial in determining the cause of death for both people. Why it took almost a week for the bodies of Hackman and Arakawa to be found is another important point. In New Mexico, they led a pretty isolated life. They hardly ever appeared in public or engaged with the media. Hackman's daughter did not come often because she lives in a different state. Since Hackman and Arakawa led a very secluded life, their neighbors saw nothing out of the ordinary. Their passing might have gone unnoticed for even longer if the maintenance worker hadn't been worried about the lack of communication and had chosen to check. According to certain professionals in criminal investigations, they might have been impacted by an unidentified outside influence. Poisoning from gas or carbon monoxide. However, preliminary examinations reveal no indications of gas leakage within the residence. Unfavorable medication reactions? Is it possible that one of them took the incorrect amount by mistake and became unconscious, leaving the other unable to save them in time? One more incident? Is it possible that Hackman had an accident and Arakawa was too shocked to respond? There are still important questions. First, was Hackman's death on February 17 actually real? If so, what was Arakawa up to in the intervening time? Second, there were no indications of forced entry, although the front door was unlocked. Third, why did the other 2 dogs stay healthy when just one died? Fourth, was there an outside intervention that went unnoticed? There are more questions than answers regarding Hackman's pacemaker data. The probe might take weeks or even months if there isn't any more conclusive proof. However, one thing is for sure, Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's deaths are more complicated than first believed. The public is still curious about what actually happened on February 17, even while the toxicology findings are still pending. Time is an unforgiving enemy. It gradually removes traces, letting the truth become obscure. For Betsy Arakawa and Gene Hackman, however, time is a powerful enemy rather than only a silent observer. Without a final word or warning, they went by in their own house. The most confusing part, however, is not how they died but rather how they disappeared for hours before their remains were found. How did their last days go? And what really happened through that open door? A maintenance worker showed up at Hackman and Arakawa's home in New Mexico on February 26 to see how things were doing. The door was knocked on. Nobody responded. He looked out the window and saw the pair sitting on the floor, frozen in place. Immediately, a 911 call was placed. Shortly after, Santa Fe police arrived, and what they discovered inside prompted a number of inquiries. The front door was unlocked and ajar. No evidence of struggle or forcible entry was found. There were 2 healthy dogs inside, and 1 dead in a closet. There was an open prescription bottle next to Arakawa's body, pills all over the bathroom floor, and a space heater that was still warm. There is no easy way to explain these details. Why weren't any things damaged if this was a break-in? Why were there such unusual circumstances, such as 1 dog dying while the others were unscathed, if this was a natural death? Carbon monoxide poisoning, a frequent cause of death in homes, was one of the first theories authorities looked into. Test results, however, contradicted this. Neither Hackman's nor Arakawa's blood had any signs of the poisonous gas. This raised a more significant query. Could their bodies have been contaminated by something else than carbon monoxide? There were no indications of external trauma in the preliminary autopsy report. However, this does not mean that the death was caused by a natural cause. Although it will take a few weeks to get the findings, toxicology tests are being performed to look for any drugs, chemicals, or toxins in their blood. However, there is still room for the possibility that something unexpected happened within the residence. However, why was there no indication of a fight or altercation if something undesirable occurred? Hackman's body was discovered face down on the floor in a room close to the kitchen, showing no signs of injury, according to a deputy sheriff's affidavit. But the body of Betsy Arakawa was somewhere else, in the bathroom, next to an open pill bottle. According to an investigating source, there are concerns about the body's placement. Why weren't they together if they both died at the same time? Why did Arakawa not call for assistance if Hackman passed first? Near Betsy Arakawa, police discovered a prescription bottle with drugs all over the bathroom floor. This can just be a coincidence, or it might indicate a more serious issue. Did someone set up the incident this way, or might Betsy Arakawa have overdosed by accident? The dog that passed in the closet, however, is the most enigmatic component. Why did the other 2 survive, while just 1 passed? Was it caused by something in the house or by natural causes? The remains of the dog are being examined by investigators to check for evidence of poisoning. The dog's death from a poison could provide important information about Hackman and Arakawa's cause of death. The house's unsecured front door is another fact that baffles the police. Who unlocked the door if Hackman and Arakawa were gone for days before they were found? Before leaving, did they not remember to lock the door? Or, after they were gone, did someone come and go from the house? When police analyzed the footage from the area security cameras, they found no oddities. Between February 17 and 26, no one was observed coming into or going out of Hackman's home. However, there is one odd detail. No evidence of theft or looted property. There is a scary hypothesis that results from this. It might have been something other than a robbery if someone did enter the residence. A maintenance worker who had come to check on the house was the one who found the dead of Hackman and Arakawa. He said in the 911 call that he had been trying to reach the couple for days and that they were not moving when he glanced through the window. He stated something strange in his statement to the police. Something was strange, but the house felt unaltered. It was an odd feeling in the air. The atmosphere in the house was strange, but there were no indications of any disturbance. This prompted the police to inquire. Why did the residents not exhibit deterioration or the smells usual of extended deaths if Hackman and Arakawa had been dead since February 17? At the press conference on February 27, Sheriff Mendoza said, "We are looking at all possibilities. As of yet, no conclusion has been made. The investigation is still unable to reach a definitive conclusion despite all of the available clues. However, important questions still exist. Did Arakawa and Hackman die days apart or at the same time? Secondly, why did the dog die? Does it have anything to do with their deaths? 3. Did anyone enter the residence and why was the door unlocked? Fourth, what will be revealed by the toxicology results? Every response could lead to a different line of inquiry. The public will continue to wonder what really happened to Gene Hackman until the truth is out. And the last hours of Betsy Arakawa. Time seemed to have stopped inside the mansion of Betsy Arakawa and Gene Hackman. The silence in the home was uncanny, like though it held a terrible secret. Nobody knew what investigators were going to face when they stepped inside, but what they found left everyone in disbelief. The floor of the restroom was littered with pills. With his hands seemingly grasping for something, Hackman fell close to the kitchen. And their devoted dog was likewise still, as though it had gone by with its owners. A picture of mystery is painted by all these features. Was there something more hiding in the shadows of this house, or was this a premeditated disaster or a random tragedy? Police discovered a prescription bottle in the restroom close to Betsy Arakawa's body while investigating the situation. However, the oddity was not just in the bottle, it was also in the way the pills were strewn all over the floor. During her last dose, did Arakawa unintentionally spill the pills? Or was it done on purpose to create a fake scene? Why did Hackman also die if it was suicide? According to the preliminary autopsy results, Arakawa's body exhibited no indications of trauma or struggle. But there was a bigger query. Was Hackman aware of his wife's situation? Was it too late for him to try to save her? A terrifying theory surfaced. Hackman might have attempted to assist Arakawa if she had been in danger first, only to fall prey to something invisible himself. The body of Gene Hackman was discovered on the floor, face down, next to the kitchen. His stance hinted at something odd, but there were no symptoms of a serious impact. Before he collapsed, Hackman seems to have attempted to stand or grasp for anything. There were no indications of any disruption in the kitchen, but a space heater remained warm. There was still an unfinished glass of water on the table. Why didn't Hackman contact emergency services if he really died after his wife? Another theory was put forth. Hackman might have attempted to get aid, but it was too late if he and Arakawa had been poisoned or otherwise impacted by whatever. But it's all still conjecture. No one can be sure until toxicology results are made public. No clear symptoms of harm were discovered. This prompted them to speculate about the potential for poisoning or inhaling a poisonous gas. Police are testing the dog to find out what killed it, according to a source. It might hold the secret to understanding the deaths of Hackman and Arakawa if it was a byproduct of a poisonous substance. Investigators found other puzzling information when they looked around the house more. The TV was off, but the lights in the living room were on. As though someone was reading, there was an open book on the table. The front door was ajar, but there were no indications of forced entry. When combined, these seemingly unimportant information create a paradoxical picture. Who unlocked the door if Hackman and Arakawa had already left on February 17? Why did the house appear to be undamaged as though time had stopped? Investigators speculated that someone might have been in the residence following the deaths of Hackman and Arakawa as a result of these queries. Police were perplexed by the fact that neither Hackman nor Arakawa had called for assistance in the days before to their deaths. There were no frantic messages to friends or family, number 911 calls, and no indications that they made an effort to get in touch. The idea of an abrupt and quick passing became more likely as a result. The other would have attempted to get assistance if one had died naturally. However, might an outside force have stepped in if both passed quickly and no one responded? Sheriff Mendoza stated in a statement on February 28 that every possibility is being investigated. We are treating this case with utmost caution, and no ruling has been made yet. What does this mean? None of the alternatives are being ruled out. They are neither ruling out the possibility of human involvement, nor are they confirming this as a natural passage. Toxicology results and scene analysis require more time. However, the public is still curious about what actually happened in Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's house while police continue their investigation. Were they the targets of a plot? Or was this just a string of unfortunate occurrences predetermined by fate? Time will tell. Until then, however, Hackman and Arakawa's mansion will continue to be a mystery, a house that not only houses the ghosts of unresolved mysteries, but also contains them. Fans and those who knew Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa are left with an indelible hole in their hearts due to their passing. However, there are still unresolved questions in addition to the anguish of loss. The mystery surrounding his death is still hidden like an undrawn curtain, despite the fact that Hollywood is mourning a legend. What actually happened in the house in New Mexico? According to the police, the inquiry is still going on. In the meantime, the public and the film industry are left wondering, is this a random tragedy, or are Gene Hackman's last hours concealing something? One of Hollywood's greatest stars, Gene Hackman, was found dead in his tranquil home with his wife only days before the Oscars. Something more meaningful, or just a weird coincidence? Two-time Oscar winner Hackman had long since left the movie business. However, his name continues to stand as a lasting monument for Hollywood's younger generation. It feels like a last curtain call, a mystery conclusion to a magnificent life, when he passes away at this moment. Some admirers wonder if Hackman had any plans to make a comeback before he died. Was there something he didn't say? The loss of a legend like Hackman during the most prestigious awards season in the film industry has increased the grief, whether it was a coincidence or something of great importance. The family of Hackman and Arakawa has opted to remain silent while the public is abuzz. No remarks that cast doubt on their demise. No statements calling for additional research. Just regret and grief. A close source revealed, they just want to remember Gene for the life he lived, not for the way he passed. Does this mean the family believes this was a natural passing? Or do they simply not wish to confront endless speculation? Whatever the answer, the family's silence amplifies the atmosphere of mystery. Notably, although the scene showed no signs of forced entry or disturbance, there are still peculiar details unresolved. Why was Hackman near the kitchen as if he tried to do something before collapsing? Why were there no calls from either of them in their final hours? Is the dog's passing beside them a significant sign or mere coincidence? All remain pieces that do not yet fit together. The final answers may lie in the official autopsy report. According to forensic experts, this will be the most crucial document to determine the true cause of death, the presence of any toxins or overdoses, the precise time of Hackman and Arakawa's passing. If the report shows they both passed from natural causes, this mystery may close. But if there are traces of foreign substances, everything will take a different turn. The public awaits. And in the meantime, Hollywood mourns a monument that passed in silence. Whether Gene Hackman's cause of death is clarified or not, one thing cannot be changed. His legacy endures. He is one of the greatest actors of all time. He shaped a generation with his classic roles. He left Hollywood in peace, but his name has never been forgotten. As one viewer said, "We lost a legend, but legends never truly pass." The curtain has fallen. But Gene Hackman's story will live on. Hollywood has seen many tragic farewells, but few leave behind more questions than answers. The passing of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa should have been a quiet moment of remembrance for a legendary actor and his devoted wife. Instead, it became an enigma, a story with missing pages, a script left unfinished. The investigation into their deaths remains officially open. Yet no suspect has been named, no foul play has been confirmed, and no clear cause has been established. Everything about their final days exists in a haze of contradictions. The scene inside their New Mexico home was at once peaceful and deeply unsettling. Two lifeless bodies lying in separate rooms, a prescription bottle left open on a counter, pills scattered across the bathroom floor, a fireplace near Arakawa's body, a dog, inexplicably dead inside a closet. But even stranger than what was found was what wasn't. No signs of forced entry, no struggle, no clear external trauma. The couple appeared to have simply ceased to exist. Their lives halted in a way that defied logic. If no one entered and they never left, what exactly happened inside that house? Then there was the timing. Authorities estimate Hackman's pacemaker recorded its last heartbeat on February 17, but they were not discovered until February 26, 9 days of silence. 9 days where their home stood still, untouched, unseen. Perhaps the most haunting question of all, did they die together or was one left behind? If Hackman's heart stopped on February 17, what about Arakawa? Did she pass at the same time or did she spend days alone in that house with only their surviving dogs for company? The idea of one of them living, breathing, waiting, wondering, while the other had already gone is almost unbearable to imagine. Investigators have not released the full toxicology reports, though they have ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning. That in itself is significant. If carbon monoxide was the culprit, their deaths could be explained as an accident. But it wasn't. So what was? Have not publicly questioned the circumstances of their father's death. No accusations, no calls for deeper investigation, a quiet acceptance, or something more? Hollywood, meanwhile, prepares to pay tribute. The timing of Hackman's death, just days before the Academy Awards, only adds to the eerie nature of this loss. He was supposed to be honored, remembered for his roles on screen. Instead, his final act became a mystery. Will the Oscars shine a light on his legacy, or will it be overshadowed by the unanswered questions surrounding his last days? The world moves on. The headlines will fade. The police will eventually close the case, whether with a definitive answer or a lingering uncertainty. But some stories never truly end. There will always be those who wonder about the pills, the dog, the locked doors that were never forced open, about Hackman's last heartbeat, and whether someone else was there to hear it. Gene Hackman has taken his final bow, but the echoes of his last days still whisper through the corridors of Hollywood. Hollywood mourns a legend. Hackman's family chooses silence. Police continue the investigation, but the truth lies somewhere, hidden among forensic reports, scattered pills, and undisclosed secrets. Gene Hackman has passed, but his story has not.